At the beginning of the video, Han appears with her familiar gentle smile. She stands in front of the scene of a small house under construction, folds her hands to greet the audience, and gently recounts her journey. Han's voice is slow but full of emotion. She says that to have days like today, to have every brick and every pillar erected, she has received a lot of help from kind people around her. Some people helped with the work, some gave materials, some simply offered words of encouragement, but to Han, all of them are kindnesses she will never forget. Recalling the early days of building the house, Han's eyes suddenly sparkled. She said that there were times when she was so tired that she wanted to give up, looking at the unfinished house and feeling heavy-hearted. But every time she thought of her children, thought of the day when the whole family could live together under a decent roof, Han found the strength to get up and continue. Because she had to focus on building the house, Han had to send little Tom to her sister Kwa's house to be taken care of. When she mentioned this, her voice softened. She was relieved that Tom was loved and well-fed, but she also felt torn because she couldn't be with her child every day. There were nights when she worked so hard that as soon as she lay down, she missed her child terribly. She misses Tom calling Mom, misses his tiny but incredibly warm hugs. Han sincerely thanks Koa's family, the people who, without hesitation, took Tom in during the busiest and most difficult times for his mother. Not only does Han miss Tom, she also mentions little Quinn with affectionate eyes. She says that every day she hopes to finish the house soon, so she can welcome her children home, so that the whole family can gather together again, sharing a simple meal but full of love. That simple promise is the greatest motivation that helps Han try her best every day, no matter how tired she is, not allowing herself to give up. Continuing the journey of building the house, the construction site became increasingly lively. The sounds of hammers, drills, and saws rang out incessantly. Than, Han, and Uncle Sam divided the work very smoothly. One measured, one drilled holes, and one erected the frame. Each piece of wood was passed by hand. Each sheet of corrugated iron was carefully lifted to prepare for roofing. Sweat drenched everyone's backs, and their hands and feet were covered in dust, but their faces clearly showed their determination. Because everyone understood that this roof was not just a construction project, but Han's dream, her greatest hope at this moment. Just as the group was engrossed in their work, Than's father, who was also the landowner, stopped by to check on the progress. He walked around the construction site, looking at each pillar and each joint, then nodded in satisfaction. Seeing Han, thin and frail, still working hard, he suddenly thought of a way to help her earn some extra money. He suggested that Han try selling durians to earn some extra capital. He said he had a friend who had a durian orchard that needed to be sold quickly, and if Han was willing to buy them and resell them, she would have more money to pay for the house construction. Hearing this, Han thought for a moment and then nodded in agreement. She decided to temporarily leave the construction site. Before leaving, Han stopped by to visit little Tom at Kwa's house. As soon as he saw his mother, Tom ran over and hugged Han tightly around the neck. Hen picked him up, kissed his soft hair, and told him to be good at the uncle's house, waiting for her to finish building the house before coming back. Saying goodbye to Tom, Han followed the acquaintance to the durian orchard. Stepping into the orchard for the first time, Han felt both curious and nervous. She was instructed on how to pick ripe fruit. The spines should be evenly spread, it should smell fragrant, and when tapped, it should sound dull rather than hollow. They also showed Han how to cut the fruit without crushing the segments. Each step was new to her, so Han worked slowly but carefully. For the first time, tasting the durian she had picked herself, Han felt both nervous and excited. The rich, sweet flavor spread across her tongue, making her smile. She thought to herself, if she could sell durians this delicious, customers would surely love them. After weighing and paying the orchard owner, Han took the durians to the market. She chose a small but busy corner to set up her stall. As she opened each durian, the aroma wafted through the air, drawing many people to stop. Some curiously approached to look, others asked the price, and then bought some to try. Everyone who bought some praised the durians for being fresh, rich, and very tasty. Hearing those compliments, Hen felt both happy and moved, tears welling up in her eyes. In just one day, she sold quite a lot, enough to cover the costs of the house she was building. Thinking not just of herself, Han set aside a portion of the durians as gifts to bring back to the construction site. She wanted to thank Thanh, Uncle Sam, and everyone else who had worked so hard to help her, so that the journey of building this home would always be filled with love. Leaving the small market, Han took the durians to visit little Tom at Uncle Qua's house. She carefully cut the durians and offered them to the two uncles, as a small gift to thank them for looking after Tom all this time. At first, everyone was hesitant about the strong durian smell, but when they tasted it, they were surprised by its sweet, rich, and delicious flavor. Tom also ate a few pieces, smiling as he ate, his hands covered in durian but still happy, making the whole family laugh along. The atmosphere in the house became unusually warm and lively. After staying to chat for a while, Han took Tom back to the small house under construction. As soon as they arrived, she brought the durian to Thanh and Uncle Sam, the people who were diligently helping her build the house. Everyone was happy because the gift was simple but contained a lot of affection. Waiting for Tom to fall asleep, Han rolled up her sleeves and helped everyone roof the house. Each sheet of roofing was passed up, and Han stood below to tie it securely. Her hands hurt, but she still tried to do it carefully. Thanh saw this and praised Han for being very skilled. It was admirable that a woman could do such hard work. Han just smiled, said nothing, and continued working intently. While they were working, Tom's cries echoed from downstairs. Han hurriedly climbed down from the roof to comfort her child. At the same time, Uncle Sam also left the construction site to cut more bamboo in preparation for the next steps. On the roof, only Thanh remained, diligently finishing the remaining roof tiles in the fading afternoon sunlight. The peaceful atmosphere was suddenly disrupted by a tense situation. While Thanh was busy roofing, he suddenly saw a group of people in the distance heading straight for the construction site. With just a glance, Thanh recognized them as the people who had come to demand repayment of the $4,000 debt and were pressuring his family to sell the land to settle the debt. Than's heart pounded. Panicked, he hurriedly climbed down from the roof and quietly hid behind a nearby banana tree, leaving Han standing there bewildered, not understanding what was happening. Just then, the group arrived, calling out Than's name repeatedly. Their voices were harsh and threatening. Han stepped forward to stop them, saying that only she and the others were building the house and that she didn't know where Thanh had gone. But the two strong men didn't listen. They searched everywhere, their eyes full of suspicion. When they saw Than's motorcycle still parked nearby, they became even more convinced that he was still around. They continued to press Han for answers, their voices growing increasingly harsh. In their anger, they became violent toward her. Han fell down in pain, scared and panicked. Seeing this, Thanh, who had been hiding behind a banana tree, could no longer bear it. He rushed out, intervened, and got into a scuffle with the group. The sounds of arguing and fighting echoed through the unfinished construction site. During the struggle, Thanh dropped his car keys. The group quickly picked them up and immediately took his motorcycle away. Before leaving, they beat Thanh up, despite his attempts to explain that he had paid off most of the debt, leaving only a small portion remaining. But they still deliberately charged very high interest rates, using that as an excuse to force Than's family to sell their land. When the group left, the construction site became eerily quiet. The afternoon wind blew through the unfinished roof, making a sad rattling sound. Han trembled as she helped Thanh up. Both were injured and distraught. The roof was not yet finished, but the biggest worry at this moment was not just the house, but the land, the place tied to the future of Than's family. Han returned to the construction site and found Thanh sitting on the ground, covered in scratches. She rushed over in panic, asking him anxiously if he was okay and insisting on taking him to the hospital. Han moved closer, gently wiping the blood from Than's face, her hands trembling with fear that he was seriously injured. Just then, Dan arrived from afar. He was still holding the bouquet of flowers he had intended to give to Han. Seeing Han standing very close to Thanh, caring for his wounds, her eyes full of concern, Dan froze. His heart ached. In that moment, he misunderstood that there was a connection between the two. Without a word, Dan quietly dropped the bouquet on the ground. The petals scattered on the dusty ground, like the emotions in his heart at that moment, shattered and painful. He turned and walked away, carrying with him an indescribable sadness. Han was completely unaware that Dan had been there. She remained bent over, intently examining the wound on Than's face, her expression filled with sorrow. When she learned that Than's motorcycle had been stolen, Han hesitated before offering to help him pay to get it back. She said that without a motorcycle, it would be very difficult for him to get around and work. Than quickly shook his head, saying he didn't want to involve Han, and certainly didn't want her to borrow money or go without because of him, but Han was adamant. She said that in times of difficulty, people should help each other, and he could repay her whenever he had the means. Her voice was firm but sincere. Finally, Than accepted the money from Han, deeply moved. He bowed his head and thanked Han profusely, promising to pay her back in full, even double. Looking at Than's honest eyes, Han just smiled softly, saying she didn't need double, she just hoped everything would be settled soon, so that everyone could rest assured, so that the house could be completed soon, and so that good people would no longer have to suffer.